Hello MMA fans of MMA-INSIDE. Today in this video, we are going to walk through the saddest moments in MMA history. Subscribe to let these fighters rest in peace. Thank you. Death is not the goal of any fighter when they fight with their fists to make their ends meet. But sadly, some fighters were unlucky enough to break their breath right in the middle of the octagon. Mixed martial arts are known for their brutality. Most people perceive this combat sport as more dangerous than any other combat sport, all because of the pretty liberal rules and a high level of tolerance to violence. That is why MMA is illegal or legally restricted in some countries around the world. But the rules of MMA in the sport's largest market, the United States of America, have been unified in 2001, and although there are different regulations around the world, MMA has very specific rules in place to avoid potentially dangerous scenarios. But sadly, such scenarios happen. Although I have to state that the numbers for MMA are reasonably smaller than the ones for other combat sports, especially the often mentioned boxing. So, has anyone died in UFC or MMA in general? There have been no deaths in the UFC history. As for MMA in general, there were 7 deaths in sanctioned fights and 9 in unsanctioned fights. In this video, we are going to give you an insight into the deaths in MMA, the who's, the whens, and the whys, all in one place just for you. Sam VASQUEZ died on November 30th, 2007 at Houston Arena. Cause of death, subdural hemorrhage. Sam VASQUEZ was 35 years old when he participated in the Renegades Extreme Fighting event in Houston, Texas. The date was November 20th, 2007. After 3 rounds, VASQUEZ was knocked out by his opponent and lost the match. All was okay until sometime later. VASQUEZ lost consciousness and was taken to a hospital. There, he was diagnosed with a subdural hemorrhage, and the surgeons had to remove a piece of his skull bone to reduce the effect of his brain swelling. That did not solve the problem, and he soon got a tube installed in his skull to drain the cerebral spinal fluid, which would allow his brain to swell without causing any more damage. The situation still didn't improve, and he finally fell into a coma on November 28, 2007. After 48 hours, Sam VASQUEZ sadly died. The cause of death was officially described as a complication due to blunt trauma to the head in combination with a subdural hemorrhage. Michael KIRKHAM died on June 28, 2010 at Aiken Fight Arena. Michael KIRKHAM entered an MMA competition in Aiken, South Carolina on June 26, 2010. He was 30 years old and was preparing for his professional debut. His first opponent, Carlos Iraburo, managed to throw him on the canvas seconds into the fight, where he landed several shots to KIRKHAM's head. The referee decided to stop the fight before the end of the first minute due to KIRKHAM being in a very difficult position. Soon after, KIRKHAM lost consciousness and never recovered. The doctors proclaimed him dead on June 28, 2010, listing a subarachnoid hemorrhage as the official cause of death. Another doctor suggested second impact syndrome as the cause of death because KIRKHAM was TKO'd in his last amateur fight, but that was never proven. TYRONE MIMS died on August 11, 2012 at Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Cause of death is still a mystery to many. TYRONE MIMS was also 30 years old when he met his end in South Carolina. Still, MIMS' death remains a mystery even to this day, and it will probably remain so forever. During the second round, MIMS complained of fatigue, and the referee stopped the match because MIMS was officially unable to continue. As he was going back to the locker room, he lost consciousness and never recovered. The doctors declared him dead at 9:27 p.m. The interesting thing is that MIMS had no visible injuries, nor did 2 autopsies show any clear cause of death. Doctors later suggested a heart problem, but that could not have been confirmed, nor will it probably ever be. Butu Gailane died on March 5, 2014 at Johannesburg, South Africa. Cause of death, brain swelling. Butu Gailane was a Congolese fighter, 29 years old, who fought in an MMA event in South Africa. He sustained a heavy head injury during the 3rd round match against Karan Davies and was stabilized on site. Butu was later taken to a hospital, where he sadly died a week later. due to complications arising from the brain swelling that was a result of the injury. Donshay White died on July 16, 2017 at Louisville. Cause of death: hypertensive heart disease. Veteran Donshay White was 37 when he lost an amateur heavyweight bout against Ricky Muse in Kentucky, after being TKO'd in the second round of an MMA event. To add to the tragedy, it was White's first bout after 2015, i.e., a 2-year pause. All was good during and shortly after the fight, but White then collapsed behind the stage and was taken to a hospital. The doctors could do nothing and had to, sadly, declare White dead at 9:02 p.m. It was later established that White had high blood pressure, hypertension, and did not take his medication. The condition worsened after the fight, so the cause of death was stated to be hypertensive heart disease. Interestingly enough, White passed the medical on the day of the fight. RONDEL Clark took his last breaths on August 15, 2017 at Boston, dying out of rhabdomyolysis. The 26-year-old RONDEL Clark was a brilliant fighter who was set up for a fight where he faced Ryan Dunn in the first round. After 2 minutes into the third round, the match was stopped and Dunn was proclaimed winner via TKO. Clark was visibly fatigued and could not defend himself normally. He did not take much damage during the 2-something rounds, so the doctors concluded the problem was something else and sent him to the hospital after examining him immediately after the fight. His kidneys started failing when he was in Boston. The doctors traced the failure to severe dehydration, but it was too late for the young Clark. His body began to deteriorate, and he ultimately died of rhabdomyolysis, a condition that causes a rapid breakdown of the skeletal and muscular tissue. This has been the saddest video on our channel so far, but out of unifying the rules in the United States when it comes to this Spartan sports, such events have been almost zero in recent years when it comes to sanctioned fights. But we pray that no fighter should ever break their breath before the time comes, especially in Octagon or due to the fight. Stay home and stay safe.